Why are there so many new champs like Viego that are nearly unbalanceable by their kit? Viego is basically a banner play since over a year now. Doggy, if you think Viego is pick ban for over a year, I just think you maybe have a different perception of the game. Because it's just not true. So does Viego have patches where he's really, really strong? Definitely, right? Like at the start of this season, he was fairly strong. But him being pick banned is not really the case. So it's kind of surprising to hear that. And so, as an example, you're saying he's pick ban for like ever, and then you say you should check in Master Plus, and so I'm checking in Master Plus. He has a 17% pick rate and an 18% ban rate. Like, that is an indication of a powerful melee champion, right? Like, that is not an indication of this character cannot be balanced based on their kit. It's not also not an indication of he's pick ban, right? If you wanted to tell me Viego is very powerful, and he's very highly favored by master tier players, I could agree with you there. I think he's definitely strong up there. But that's kind of a far cry from being like a character who is always picked, always banned. Like for a character that popular, an 18% ban rate is actually like fairly reasonable given his like shape as a champion. So yeah, I wouldn't necessarily agree that he's unbalanceable based on his kit and cannot be pick ban. And another note on that too is like also Viego has had a number of metas where he's not as popular or as banned as well, right? So right now I think he's like very strong compared to say maybe where he was like a year and a half ago. But I think part of that comment on the comment on champions that can never be balanced is potentially this an argument of they're either pick ban or they're useless. That's usually the idea. It's like, well, if they can't be balanced because they're pick ban or useless, something like that. And like, I just don't really see that. Whole season 14 plus, he was S plus. Now it's more Wukong. Yeah, but last split he was insanely strong. So again, like a character being strong for long periods of time is not an indication that there's a big problem, right? There's a difference between being strong and overpowered. There's a difference between being meta and problematic, things like that. And so we don't necessarily look at a character like Viego or Lee Sin or whoever and say like, oh, this character is, you know, some degree of popular. We need to like fix that or something like that. There is a degree of popular that can be like too much. Like as an example, there's some metas where Kaisa is like 50% pick rate. And that's like a, that's maybe not correct. Just in terms of like her matchups and stuff like that. So it's definitely a thing where it's like you do have to watch how often a character is picked to some degree, but a character just being a popular jungler that feels strong for players is not necessarily a bad thing or an indication of like really, really like problematic balance. He was definitely very powerful at the start of the season, though. I think there's another thing to always watch out for, too, and it's just like, just because a champion is popular doesn't mean that they should be the popularity that they're at. Kind of the idea that, like, you know, sometimes a character, like, he's really, really strong to the degree of even if they're popular, they probably shouldn't be that popular. Like, we have metas where, as an example, like, Jhin will be, like, the most popular AD carry by a lot. Or sometimes even the most popular champion in the game. Every once in a while this happens with Jhin. And when we see that, it's like, yeah, you know, he's a fun guy, but typically Jhin is not the most popular champion in the game. And so if there's ever a meta where Jhin is like literally one of the most picked champions in League of Legends, it's probably like, there's probably something going on here in terms of, or in regards to the character's power. Yeah. Am I winning? No, I just emoted to plat. But we can try to win this game. You know, stay positive. Yeah. So let me finish off the conversation with Viego, right? In that, like, I am not saying Viego is perfectly balanced and might not need a nerf in the future. That's not what I'm saying. But the original comment was like, hey, what's with releasing characters that can never be balanced because their kits are just fundamentally broken? Was kind of like the implication. And I disagree with that assessment for a character like Viego, given that like it has seemed that over the years that he has settled fairly well into the meta, being like a strong, viable pick that doesn't create too much frustration or too much pro binding or things like that. So, might he need a nerf in the future? Possibly. But that's a different question. What can be done to make Taliyah more popular? Taliyah, unfortunately, is balanced around really, really, really high MMR. And so, she's not a character that tends to be powerful or feel powerful to the average player, given that she's balanced for high MMR. With the rework, we've seen that Taliyah can be like an average popularity character in terms of, hey, if she's decently powerful for the average player, some of them will actually play her. They like Taliyah an average amount. The catch, though, with that is that usually represents a version of Taliyah that's very, very powerful in Challenger and Pro Play, such that it is generally hard to balance her for high MMR and the average player at the same time, unfortunately. When you say high MMR, does that mean Emerald or even higher? High MMR in the case of a character like Taliyah is like high Diamond plus. So like D1, Master, Grandmaster, Challenger. That's where Taliyah tends to be on the stronger side. Will you make any champs in the future? Maybe. We'll see. Right now, no. But maybe one day I'll work on champions again. When will you grease your door hinge? Are you talking about the door to the bathroom that squeaks when I open it? Have you considered making support? I would love to make an enchanter. An enchanter is something I've always wanted to make and never had the chance to do. I kind of made one with Senna. She's kind of like a fake enchanter. But, yeah. I think it would be fun to make an enchanter. Senna is more like a real enchanter. Yeah, Senna recently is being played more like an enchanter. I think Senna, specifically her AD build, might be a little weak right now. I think her enchanter build is chillin', but I think her AD build might need a little help in the long run. But who knows?